My name's Rick Nucci. I'm the founder of Boomi. I'm not here to do too much today other than introduce our guest speaker, which is Warren Davidson, who is with SuccessFactors. SuccessFactors has been a partner of ours. You'll hear from Warren the journey, but in different capacities since 2009. They've been an awesome company to work with, and their story about how they think about what we do, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second, integration, is really, really exciting. They have very methodically and thoughtfully thought about integration strategies and what that means to their business, and how does integration impact the way they sell? How does integration, in terms of shortening their sales cycle, how does integration help them get their customers live faster? How does integration help them be more sticky with their customers by having an integrated experience? So it really is a very cool story. I'm very excited about it. Just going to spend 2 quick minutes talking a little bit about partner strategy. When we launched Boomi, specifically our cloud offering back in 2007, the channel strategy, partnering with ISVs such as yourselves and systems integrators, was really a core part of the strategy from the beginning. We believe that for us, enabling ISVs to be able to solve what is one of the top impediments to SaaS and cloud adoption, regardless of which analyst you talk to, would be a really powerful thing, and would create what we now call, often referred to as the halo effect, which is that the more present we are embedded in other applications, the more overall value we provide to enterprises around integration. So it's pretty exciting. Part of that strategy was not just a partner program, which was important, but it was also a partner product. And what I mean by that is a product that was designed to be embedded into another product, a product and a distribution model that was designed around self-service and seamless deployment. We're not shipping keys, we're not shipping CDs. This is all happening in the cloud. So how do you enable your partners to easily provision accounts, activate integrations, things like that? So there's a lot of work that actually went into the product itself to actually make this successful. Along the way, we spent a long time iterating and refining how we successfully make partners successful with Boomi. I think if I were to kind of summarize for you, it would boil down to, number one, it takes a lot longer than at least we initially thought for partners to really ingrain you into their business, because as leads into my second point, whether you want to call it OEM or embedded or whatever term you want to use, for this type of model, what you're really talking about is making your product part of your partner's sales team. The product is in that salesperson's sales bag. It potentially goes towards their quota. Potentially, right? So there's sort of a whole go-to-market. There's a whole sync up around release cycles. There's a whole, there's an integration concept called a connector, which is how you connect a middleware platform to a packaged application, like an SAP or a SuccessFactors product or Salesforce.com, what have you. How do you incorporate those connector changes as your partner's application changes? So all the full life cycle of kind of what goes on, the way you support partners. And so we spent a lot of time kind of thinking about that and figuring that out, and building a company around it. Again, today it represents half of our business. So half of our business is selling direct to end customers to help them solve integration, and the other half is channels. So it's enabling partners like SuccessFactors to be successful. We've had a pretty good track record over the last several years, since 2007, in creating real, meaningful partnerships with a lot of marquee ISVs, which we're very, very happy about, very pleased with. SuccessFactors being an awesome story, and you're going to hear Warren talk about their journey. And you can see we've had success in the CRM category, HR, obviously, procurement, marketing automation, et cetera. All products that have a big integration focus with what they do. And the systems integrators, too. Although the way the program is structured is very different, nonetheless, you're enabling those systems integrators to be able to architect your technology into solutions they're proposing for their customers. So another big focus for us in our channel strategy. So with that, I'd like to now turn it over to Warren Davidson, who's going to tell the SuccessFactors story. Sir?
Thank you very much. I'm going to tell you my version of the SuccessFactors story. So, hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to cover actually kind of a broad array of subjects when it comes to partnering. I'm going to talk about the use case of SuccessFactors and Boomi, but I'm going to talk about some things in general because I think having been in the partner network in a lot of roles for a long period of time before cloud and in cloud, it's an interesting aspect that I think everybody goes through. Do you partner? Do you not partner? If you do partner, how do you partner? And what does it take to partner? And what's the successful partnerships? And I've seen some good ones. I've seen some bad ones. So at SuccessFactors, as you see there, there's a broad list of partners that we work from technology partners to SI partners to vertical industry partners. So we have a lot of partnering that we do. And I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the process of going through deciding what types of things and looking back at the different partnerships because what I do today, I see a lot of the different partnerships that we have within SuccessFactors and they're all different. And some partners are better partners than other partners and you look at it and you say, all right, what's the best path? What's the best way to go about it? And if you're familiar with SuccessFactors, you know we're required by SAP and even prior to the acquisition, we'd been growing quite rapidly. So you know, we've got a pretty big customer base. We've got a lot of users. We've got 5 data centers. We've got everything under the sun in terms of professional services and consultants and experts in the industry. We go into very large accounts. We go into very small accounts. Our sales organizations could be SMB, mid-sized, enterprise. And now, of course, with SAP, they pull us into some of their global accounts. And so, we're getting into all kinds of situations in terms of how to deploy and how to grow. And not only are we growing, we're selling like in 168 countries. We got 90 languages we support. It's a very complex environment. If you want to continue to grow, you got to step back and you got to think about how are you going to continue to grow. And SuccessFactors wasn't as sophisticated as SAP when it comes to the channel. SAP provides things like the Partner Edge, which is an entire program full of people that do all kinds of things that enable partners. We got certifications. We've got all kinds of things from the SAP side. From the SuccessFactors side, we knew we needed consulting partners. We need people who help with implementation. So we had a number of partners, but it even expanded with SAP. And then, of course, everybody on the SAP on-prem side wanted to get into the cloud. And so all of a sudden, there's all this complexity. But at the end of the day, how do you grow your business? And if you're growing rapidly, you got to ask yourself, what is your core expertise and what is your ability to go support the customers? So you have to partner. We had somewhat of a simple process of defining partners as it's a resale partner, it's a service partner. It's a partner that's going to help you build the things that you're building. We have technology partners always coming to us. Everybody wants to partner with SAP and SuccessFactors the same. So then we say, okay, if we're going to partner with these people, where do they fit? And what is our go-to-market channel going to be with them? What is the right way to partner with somebody? And you really have to think about, from a partnership perspective, what is the goal? And ultimately, the goal typically is going to be solving a problem, to grow your sales, to win more business, to be more competitive. And then you go back and you think about how do you apply the strategy for the partner then, because you have a lot of different options, right? So I stole this from one of my weekly meetings that I go to. No, just kidding. But I think about this. I always used to think about this. It's like sometimes partnering requires thinking about where the partner is. So I've been on the partner side where I've had partners come in and I bring them on and I get them engaged, at SuccessFactors. And I've also been on the selling side, which is what I've primarily done in going out to partners and selling product. So you wonder, how does a partnership start and how do you get to where you're going? And so any sales guy is going to qualify an opportunity. And what I found in qualifying partnerships was that you have to really think about where the partner is, the potential partner is today. And I also found that in the cloud, as companies started and they were growing, partnerships were not at the forefront of what they wanted to do. And so when I would approach certain companies about partnerships, the denial stage was where they started. It's right, we don't need partners. We built a product, it's pretty good, we sell it to our customers and they take care of the rest. And it's like, okay, but if you're really solving a customer problem, then you really have to think about they're bringing in your product into their environment. It's not that simple. And so I always consider that denial, because anybody who doesn't need any partners isn't really thinking about the customer process and what does it take for the customer to bring that solution in, because it's always going to be a part of a process. It's going to be touching something, whether another technology or other data or just processes and operations, right? It's going to touch something. But the denial stage always kind of holds you off, and so you go away. And then the partner would potentially start to say, all right, we're out there selling, and the customers keep asking us, how do we do this? And how do we do that? And when you say, well, we don't handle it, you start to see that customers saying, okay, they're not really prepared for us. We're an enterprise. We're asking them for help for things around their solution, and they don't have any. So they start to feel this pain in the sales cycle where sales guys are coming back and saying, well, how do we address this question? How do we answer this question? Whoops, sorry. And woke you up. So, yeah. Next time anybody nods off, bump. So then they start kind of feel this pain in the sales cycle, right? It's like we're trying to solve these problems, and they keep bringing up this stuff, and now we got to pull in somebody else, and it's painful because now we got to bring in a partner, and it's going to affect the sales cycle, and it's just a pain, but we're doing it. So they start doing that, and then I refer to it as an anger stage, because you kind of get a little bit angry when you realize it's like, that kind of helped, and I really didn't want to engage with this partner because it complicates my sales cycle. Now instead of just calling a customer and figuring out what their timeline is and getting it done, I got to call this other guy, and now I got to coordinate a meeting with him. I got to think about their timeline, and are they going to sell it the right way? And are they going to throw me under the bus? Is their money going to take money away from what I'm selling? I mean, it just drives people crazy, and it gets a little bit angry. That's what I'd see. But then once people start to bring partners in and have success, then you get kind of depressed. Why? Well, because if you bring a partner in, it was kind of painful and you didn't really want to do it, and then you had success, it's like, geez, we got to do that again because it worked. That's kind of depressing. I want my clean little sales team going out and just owning these things. That's the way to do it. That's selling. Yeah. Now I got to bring these guys in. It's like, okay. But when you see partnerships not only help you win business, but help you grow business, that's when I start to see people have this upward turn. Conversations change. If you've ever been in a conversation with a partner that you're just starting out with, it's kind of mechanical. It's like, well, how are we going to handle the sales cycle? Or how are we going to do this? And how are we going to do that? But then you have success, and you look at the conversations, and now it's like, these guys are happy. What if we'd done this? And it starts to become creative. And all of a sudden, you start thinking about opportunities. Somebody says, I've got a company over here that kind of needed the same thing, but we weren't partners yet. How about you come in there? And then you find that when you work with partners, they ask a different set of questions. And they give you different answers. And all of a sudden, you're saying, I didn't even think about that. Well, that's good to know, because that creates another opportunity somewhere else. And then you start to realize that partners bring different points of view, and they solve different problems. And the customers are now looking at this and saying, okay, so now I've got two people working together. And when you start seeing emails from a customer that has 3 partners on it, then you start seeing it's like you're getting a pretty rounded view of the customer's point of view. And getting the customer point of view is really hard sometimes. And now you go into that, it's like, okay, let's start thinking about, as a partner, how do we not just bring them in, how do we make them part of our sales pitch and our sales cycle to make our positioning more powerful, more competitive, so that we can go in there, because we know that these customers are going to start asking for this partner. So let's not wait for them to ask. Let's ask the questions. How do we qualify the customer so that we know they're going to want the partner to come in, and we'll set that up ahead of time. So now we're on the offensive in terms of bringing in a strong partnership versus being defensive and saying, yeah, okay, I'll get you in touch with a partner. So that's where you start to reconstruct the way you think about your sales cycle and your solution and how you bring your product to market, because now you're thinking about it in a broader terms. And then once you've accepted that, then you start thinking, all right, partnerships have value. They can add to what we do. It created some work up front, wasn't so happy about that, but now we're a little bit more mature and we're a little bit more settled in how we go about doing business. And so when you think about all those different stages, then you can see, and when potential partners come to you and talk to you about it, I'll bet a lot of people say, no, we're good. It's that natural defensive mechanism that says, you don't want to add work to what you do, but if you can break that down a little bit and think, all right, would these people help me in the sales cycle that I've got with my customer? And when you start getting to that more creative view of it, then your customers will look at you a little bit differently. So I can attest to that from a standpoint of success factors and booming, because it follows the same path, right? Initially, success factors didn't do partnering with Boomi. I think they didn't do a lot of partnering, certainly with technology companies. But as they grew, they started to run into things. And one of the products that a year ago, people would say, is we do recruiting software. People say, do you need integration for recruiting? No, people don't need it. Well, this year, recruiting comes up in integration comes up in recruiting every time. So, well, why didn't it happen before? Well, it didn't happen before because when people didn't know there was a solution out there, they didn't ask the questions. They just avoided it. But when Boomi became part of another product called Employee Central, and everybody looked at it and says, the Employee Central sales guys are solving that problem. Well, okay, and they start asking the question on the recruiting side and find out, that is an issue over here. And then when they ask a question, all of a sudden, some customers say, yeah, well, we haven't figured out how to do that yet. And so when you look at how we got to where we are today, it wasn't that simple, though. So we go from this process of not wanting to have a partnership because success factors didn't know anything about integration, they didn't know anything about the technology, to, okay, let's try co-selling, because it's popping up here and there, we know we need to do it. So why don't we just say, okay, when we have a customer ask for it, we'll bring in Boomi. Well, not to the fault of Boomi, but that's kind of hard, because now you got 2 salespeople. And as you know, in a sales cycle, every sales guy is quarterback, right? If you ever watch football, there's only one quarterback on the field at a time. And so you go into this co-sell situation, and there's a lot of complexity there. So then success factors is like, okay, Boomi, we'll resell you. Okay. Start doing the reselling. It's like, okay, where's all that business that we were talking about? So we're selling Employee Central. Well, Boomi's there sometimes, but not often. Well, why? Is integration not required all the time? No, actually, it was there all the time. But success factors didn't know how to sell integration. So success factors hired a couple of pretty smart guys who knew integration. And they knew what it took for a company to implement a highly connected application. And they said, our guys can't sell Boomi, but what we can do is we can embed it in there and take it off the sales plate, and we'll train the technical guys to go figure this out, and we will build a sales story around we can do integration, but we're not integration guys. Don't worry about it. We've got the complete solution. We have technical guys who can come in and do it. So we took that off the sales plate, put it on to the technical guys who are trusted more anyway when it comes to that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, Boomi is all over the place within SuccessFactors and Employee Central because the two go hand in hand. We need it, and it works, and the sales guys don't have to figure it out. So we went through that process, and there was pain in the beginning, lots of denial, but once we started to figure it out, now we're looking at our presentations and saying, how do we build a better Boomi story, right? We don't want to go out and say, Boomi. We want to say, here is how we solve your end-to-end problem. And people appreciate that when the more money they spend in an enterprise, the more you better have to have the answers to all the questions. And I know that a lot of times when you look at partnering, you kind of look at it from the standpoint of what's the easiest path into it. And sometimes that's just driven economically. Sometimes it's a resource issue. Sometimes it's a comfort level. But in general, I know a lot of people look at referrals as it's the easy, no-cost way to go. I'm like, yeah, okay, I mean, you can do that, but if you look at partnerships where it's referral-based, once you start to do that, you refer somebody into your customer, you kind of own it. So now you have some responsibility. Because if you sell a product to a customer and you bring in a partner on a referral, and they're not doing a good job, they're going to come back to you. Well, now there's a cost there. And if it slows down your sale, if it increases your sales cycle, if you put more resources on it, it's just a hidden fee. You're just going to pay because you don't have a very tight relationship. Now you do the co-selling, there's a whole nother set of things that go there. Now you got to think about it's like, okay, we're going to do a demo, the partner's going to do a demo. The customer's going to say, well, can you show an integrated demo? It's like, okay, well, who's going to do that? And if you think there's no cost to that, well, there is. It's a hidden cost. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. And in fact, the more unstructured that partnership is, the more the hidden costs are. Because there's more things going on that you just don't see in sales cycles. And all the team meetings are going on between one sales team and another sales team. Then when you do the reselling part, I find that interesting from a standpoint that if it's an optional thing, which I understand sometimes, you don't need it all the time, I'm going to make it optional, it's just a reseller. This is good, but is that then left up to the sales guy? Because I'll tell you, not a lot of sales guys want to sell a product that's not theirs. They don't get it, they don't understand it, it scares them. And so if it were optional and maybe 50% of the time it was needed, sales guys are going to recommend it only when it's absolutely necessary. It's going to be 10% of the time. So the question is, what happens in the rest of those deals? So looking at how SuccessFactors kind of migrated through that same process is you go OEM, right? That was a way to do it. Now, a lot of people don't want to do OEM because it's like, oh, well, that's commitment. Well, really? Yeah, okay, it is. It's a commitment. But that's okay. Because if you look at all the costs and all the effort and the effect on the sales cycle for all your other options, having that initial commitment sometimes requires you put some real smart guys on there to go figure it out. But then once they do, then you don't have all those hidden costs following you through all these sales cycles, especially as you grow. So in SuccessFactors today in SAP, we've got a lot of co-selling partnerships and referral partnerships. But we get a lot of co-selling partnerships. And when I look at it, and I look at some of the things that we do, I realize it's like there are so much investment in these partnerships. We've got an entire sales team on the partner side, and we've got our sales team got to get coordinated. Then the SE teams need to get coordinated. Then we got to start thinking about, okay, how do we deliver this to the customer? And things like pricing strategy, delivering demos, even coordinating meetings. We have sometimes meetings where we've got a full room of people coming in from SuccessFactors, and a partner is going to come in and do their presentation, and they're calling me up and they're saying, I only got 25 minutes. And I call the sales guy up and I'm saying, the partner's saying he's only got 25 minutes, what's going on? And he's like, I've got 2 hours of other stuff. And I'm trying to squeeze these guys in, I got limited time. It's hard, right? You've got to find time for everything and all the solutions. And partners always want to put as much, they want their product to be as much emphasis of the sales cycles as yours. And so it does create challenges. And all of these things take time and effort. And you can see an awful lot of emails and meetings going on just to coordinate these things. So if I compare how we do some of those and how we partner with Boomi, it's really internally much different. So when we launched SuccessFactors Employee Central and started to get additional business, the competition was hitting us hard, but our sales were growing, our customer sizes were growing, and if we didn't have an end-to-end solution that was ours, then the competition would really hit us pretty hard, and they would try to poke holes in it. And so by having the partnership in OEM, we could train a small number of guys, get them really smart on Boomi, and then they would go in and they would handle that part of the sale. Now, integration doesn't drive Employee Central sales. People don't buy Employee Central because of integration. They may not buy Employee Central because of integration, though. If we don't do that, then that becomes one of those things at the end where they're trying to make that final decision, and they're like, okay, how are we going to do this? And in the cloud world, IT oftentimes ends up coming in at the end because it's a SaaS solution. But they're going to come in at the end if you're getting into bigger deals and if you're getting into more sophisticated enterprises. And somebody's going to come in and say, how are we going to do this? And if you don't have a good solution strategy, then they're going to look at that and they're going to say, I'm not quite sure if these guys are quite ready because we're going to be pretty big. And so those types of challenges got eliminated when we just made it an OEM relationship, and we really got some smart guys to come in and take care of some of the detailed technical questions that needed to be addressed and took it off the sales guys' plates because they really weren't very good. They still aren't very good. Don't know if they'll ever be any good. But that's not what they did. And when we think about how we solve a customer's problem, though, being able to go in with partners and validate that those partnerships are actually solid, then our customers have a comfort level. Because as everybody moves into the cloud from a product standpoint, think about the enterprise customer and how many cloud solutions that they're using today. And they may only have a few, but that's probably the strategy they're going forward with. So if we all believe that the cloud is going to take over the software market, where are they going to be 5 years from now, right? So when customers think about their roadmaps and when they're buying new applications and they're going cloud, well, not only having an end-to-end solution with partners coming in gives you the ability to solve that problem now, but it allows the enterprise customer to look at you and say, these guys are thinking about it in a mature way. These guys are thinking about our problem, what we need to do, and how we're going to implement it, and the things that we have to do versus just getting a deal done. And it does take a little bit of work up front sometimes to introduce those partners, but at the end of the day, the more you can bring to the table, and especially tight relationships like OEMs where you just solve the problem, it just makes everything easier for them. And that's really worked for us at SuccessFactors. Now, I said earlier that in an OEM environment, there is a commitment, and that is true. But let me juxtapose that commitment to a non-commitment a little bit. So, as I said earlier, if we could take that integration problem and hand it to a couple of smart guys who understand it and have them really figure it out with Boomi, then those guys have to dedicate some time and effort to figure this out. But we're going to relieve all the effort from all the sales guys in trying to figure out how to manage this relationship. So our guys look at it from some kind of very simple ways, from a standpoint of, all right, we've got to develop our solution with Boomi. We got to maintain it. What are those requirements? Then we're going to deploy it. What are those requirements? And then how do we manage it? If we get 1,000 Boomi customers going, we better know what's going on, just like we do in our cloud. So I'm not going to go through all of these details, but we know that we wanted a cloud solution. We want to develop in the cloud. So we hit some criteria there. And then we went into some very detailed analysis, our smart technical guys did. And they looked at it and they said, can Boomi do all of these things from a development standpoint? And I would say that SuccessFactors, in terms of the size of customers that they were going into, was ahead of the curve of Boomi, right? As a bigger company going into bigger accounts, selling a bigger product. But that was great because Boomi looked at that and says, okay, here's what we've got. We started to work together as partners because the commitment that SuccessFactors made to Boomi, Boomi made back to SuccessFactors. So the commitment goes two ways. So now, all of a sudden, we look at all these technical things that we need to do, and we go back to Boomi and say, we need some help. We've got some issues with, the web service calls the way we do it. It's like, okay, great. We figure it out. We get it done. We go fix it as a team. Then we start deploying it. And as we deploy it, we learn, okay, we're deploying to more and more customers. What are the things that are going to make it easier for us to deploy? And then we work with Boomi to figure out how to help us make sure that the deployment goes well. So now we've got a partner helping us at that level. And then, of course, Boomi actually always had something that nobody else in the industry really has, is the ability to really go look and see what's happening. And this is critically important if you're selling to a lot of customers and you're a small team and you want to be able to build all this stuff out and see what's going on, and you really want to be able to have visibility into it, because it's really important for us and our customers. And so Boomi really provided that dashboard and ability to see things, and it was critically important to us, and Boomi luckily had a lot of the things that we needed. So it gave us a lot of ability to deploy these things and manage these things and know that we can scale with Boomi. So the end result then is that Employee Central sales grow. We took integration challenge off the table. So integration was no longer an issue. So that was a win. The resources, though, for Boomi are minimal compared to some of the partnerships that we have in the co-sell. But yet, in the co-sell, we may or may not win a deal based on our co-sell partners' capabilities. But we don't lose deals because of Boomi. So we've completely taken that off the table. And we don't have an army of sales guys out there trying to explain what Boomi is. They just know that we've got integration and that it works. That's all they know, and that's all they care. But we have but the technical teams, it kind of grows like throwing a stone into the water, right? One technical guy talks to another technical guy, and pretty soon you got all these technical guys who are like, hey, that stuff's working pretty well. Let me go figure it out because I got to answer some customer questions. And we probably have more people in SuccessFactors that know Boomi than Boomi has people in Boomi. It's pretty cool, really, to have all these people who really know Boomi. The SEs, they've figured it out. They've built demos. They know how to position it. And they position it for how do we sell Employee Central. So they have a unique twist on it. And it's really been a great partnership. We've collaborated on the roadmap. We went to Boomi and said, here's where we're going, here's what we need. We said, all right, let's get together and figure out how to build that and deliver it. With the idea behind that everything that we built and put together is beneficial to both companies independently of each other, which is the way it was worked out. And one of the things that is really key is when SuccessFactors started with Boomi, they were actually further ahead in the game in terms of not waiting till the pain was so severe that they had to do Boomi. It's because we had a couple of smart guys that were telling everybody, we got to do this, which is great. Because I tell you, if we tried to do this with Boomi right now, it would be really hard because our sales are so much higher now than they were a year ago or even 2 years ago, that you don't want to necessarily go try and solve the problems when the entire ocean is just churning, right? You see the waves coming in a little bit. You think about it ahead of time, say, where are you going to be? We want to scale. We need to have the ability to scale. We need to be competitive. We need to think about our partnerships. But if you build the foundations of the partnerships early, knowing that you're going to grow, then you actually have time to actually do it right. And sometimes it does take a while for these things to come together so that you're just operating like a machine, because they're not easy. But if you know that you're going to get somewhere where you're going to need a certain partner or a partner like Boomi, don't wait until the dam broke to learn how to swim, right? You got to think about how do you start to do things now, build in those partnerships, learn things like Boomi or other partners, and then build that ecosystem so that when you grow, then you're ready and you're running, because you don't want to have to put partnerships in to solve problems when you're really, really busy. You build them when they're small, grow, and then that'll help you actually grow faster. So it's been a great partnership. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you very much.